Alright, you guys. So, the Turkish Getup. So, the history of the Turkish Getup is it's an exercise that's over 200 years old, and it's from Turkey, hence the name, Turkish Getup. It's from Turkey, and you are getting up. And people say it has roots, potentially wrestling, so potentially... Huh?
I'm interested because it said wrestling. I was like,
Yeah, so potentially Turkish wrestlers used to put it in as a exercise so that they could, be better at what they do. Also, an alternative theory is that there was a special group of Turkish individuals who just did it as a strength exercise. So what it actually is, I don't know. And I don't know if anyone actually knows because it was over 200 years ago. Pavel, I don't know how to say his last name. It's like, starts with a TS, so I don't know, it's a Russian last name. Pavel T, he's a very famous kettlebell instructor. He's the guy that's like credited with bringing it to the West. He has a lot of books like Enter the Kettlebell. But if you ever listen to his stuff, like I had an audiobook once, it's really macho and like overly, that's probably the definition of toxic masculinity right there. That's a term I was talking about yesterday with some people at the tea house, and that's a term that's overused, not to go too far off course, but this guy probably is because he's like, you need to grab the kettlebell. Like, he's like over the top, but it's kind of funny. But anyways, he's a kettlebell guy, big kettlebell guy, and he was really big on the Turkish Getup back whatever, 70s, 80s, I don't know how they brought it here. So, why do we do the Turkish Getup? So the purpose, stability, right? Lots of stability in the shoulder, the core, trunk, whole body, coordination, because you're trying to keep your arm in this like overhead extended position the whole time, and you're going from lying down on your back to sitting up to kneeling to glute bridging to standing to like lunging, right? To going down backwards and all of those. And your arm is supposed to stay in pretty much the same place the whole time. So in order for your arm to stay in the same place, it has to rotate and move, so there's a great degree of coordination. And it can also be used for rehab and quote-unquote bulletproofing, because bulletproofing is kind of a myth, but the idea is just that you're strengthening weak things so that should they come under stress, you're better prepared to handle that stress. It promotes shoulder stability and mobility. So mobility is active control. So it's like, someone has poor shoulder flexion mobility, they might be able to raise their arm, like let's say they're doing a shoulder press, they might only be able to go here. That's poor shoulder mobility. If they can control it back here, that's good shoulder mobility, right? And shoulder stability would be like, when I weight overhead, is it like this or is it like that? That's good stability, right? And the muscle groups that it works, so glutes, which is, I'm gonna touch where I'm talking about, so glutes, traps, lower back, hammies, quads, and really, honestly, it's everything, so I put full body AF, because it's really a full body exercise. And it can be used as an evaluation tool. So I was in researching and planning today's lesson, I saw that some people used it. There's something called the functional movement screen, which was really popular back in the day. Now we use the active life assessment. Different coaching companies have their assessments, but sometimes you'll see an overhead squat as an assessment tool. I guess apparently the Turkish Getup is another one. It's interesting to me because one thing I keep in mind with all these different assessment tools is the more complex they are, I don't know if you can say it's a true assessment tool, because if someone's never done it before, they're going to improve really fast motor control wise by repeating it, or actually maybe not real fast, but either way it's like there's that part of it, so I don't know if you can truly tell if they're tight or not somewhere, because they're gonna have a learning curve because of the complexity of it. Does it make sense? Like, it's way easier to test someone in shoulder flexion lying down on their back doing this than it is to do this, because then you're like, well, is it the shoulder or is it all the other shit that we worry about, right? And so the one other thing I found super interesting that I was reading last night is this one kettlebell page blog, I think it was called Strong First, said it has origins in going from crawling to walking. And sometimes I think that people like over make up how functional someone is and how it's found in nature. But I was thinking about it, I was like, I guess that could be, because they're saying like, yeah, how does a baby get up off the ground to standing? And everyone goes, well, they pull themselves up on something, right? And they go, well, no, because they're also pushing with their legs, right? They're pushing themselves up to come up, right? And it's interesting because, like, I could see a baby doing like a Turkish Getup leg movement. Maybe not not doing this as they're coming up, but they're probably like, you know, like doing that. Like, I'm pretty sure I've seen my daughter do that, right? So that was interesting. And crawling is a really good movement, not only for babies but also for older people, because you use that contralateral movement where you're using opposite arm and opposite leg, just like running, right? And so it could be a good way to retrain the brain. And I guess this guy in his blog was saying the Turkish Getup is similar, because like you're using contralateral things, like this arm is up and then the leg. Oh, just interesting. Now, in order to simplify this complex movement, we have to be able to break it down into steps. That's the next part. And I like to do numbers, and I also like to do a small name for each step. So I would like one of you to be a demonstration person and also participate. Okay, so go ahead and lie down on your back. So the first thing you gotta know is the starting position. So the starting position, you're on your back. The arm that's not up is going to be at 45 degrees off the body, so diagonal. And then the arm that is up is going to be straight up. And then you're going to externally rotate your shoulder, so your hands are going to be sideways like that. And then the back of your shoulder should be on the ground. Yep. So that's how we start. And that's a very common error, is the back of the shoulder is lifted. And it's kind of like if you were squatting with your heel up, right? Like you're going to go down for air squat like this versus having your heel down. That's what the shoulder represents. So that's a good starting position. And you guys, when you coach this, should do the same thing. You should check, is that arm at 45 degrees? Is the shoulder blade down? Sometimes you won't see it, so you might just say it, right? You have everyone find that before you move on. So, number one, starting position. What's the next thing he's gonna do? Oh, and I forgot to preface this. So, there's an old, you can stay hanging out there. So, there's an old Carl Paoli video. I tried to find it, I couldn't find it. Carl Paoli used to be a coach of San Francisco CrossFit, really good gymnastics coach. He says one of the key things that like stuck with me when I saw this video is that in the Turkish Getup, every position, every part of it is a position of stability. So you should be able to hang out there. If you can't hang out there, if you're like kind of weak in it, it's not a true part of the Turkish Getup. So just keep that in mind while we're moving through this. So go ahead and go back to the starting position. And then, so ideally, you know, if we're holding something, let's say we're holding a barbell even, when we sit up, his fist is going to stay pointing at the sky the whole time, right? So go ahead and roll to your elbow. Yep, so that's part two, is roll to the elbow. Everyone thinks it's the full sit-up, but it's right there. And when you coach this in class, you're going to have some people that just want to go all the way to the hand. Make them go back down and make them get used to that. Because if like they're doing it unweighted or light, sure, they could go right to the sit-up. If they have a barbell with 95 pounds on there, they're not going to be able to sit up that fast without losing it. So roll to elbow is going to be position 2. Position 3 is going to be push up to hand. And just push up to hand. Yep, because that's the only position for it they're going to do. So remember, all positions you can hang out in all day. Go back to that last position you were in. Nope, go up the one that you went to where I told you to go back. So raise your butt off the ground a little bit. So can you hang out there all day with 95 pounds?
No.
Yeah, so go ahead and go back down. That's why we go there. Right? So push up to hand. And then next, from there, we are going to go ahead and do the glute bridge. So yeah, really try to pop your hips towards, yep, there you go. And the reason you want to pop the hips is, so here's the other thing. Yes, I know what I just said about hanging out there all day, and theoretically you probably couldn't hang out here, but the the difference is, go back down to where we were. So how much of our butt and our hamstrings are we using when we're just hovering off the ground?
Like that, not much.
And then go back to all the way up. How much are you using now?
A lot.
Yeah. So theoretically, yes, that arm is the weak point, but theoretically, you're using your bigger muscles, so theoretically, you could hang out here all day more, right? Now from there, the hips have to stay high. Most people suck at that. Most people will have a bend in the hips from your bend. Go ahead and set. This is what we want to coach them to every time. This will be one of the biggest things we'll coach people on. The reason for that, so you have room to pull the leg through. Go ahead and pull the leg through, put the knee down. So yeah, see how you did that? That leg collapsed. So he ran out of room, and that's why you heard the drag. Go ahead and go back down to sitting. And sit. Now we can relax a little. Okay, so push up to hand. Glute bridge. Pull leg through. And I'd say end and knee down. Cool. And then let's go back to glute bridge. Now go ahead and pull the leg through, put the knee down. Good. So this isn't the bottom of the lunge yet, but this is, now we're in another position where we could definitely hang out here for a long time. Still might not be super comfortable at 95 pounds because our core is working a lot. But from here, now what we're gonna do is we're gonna keep our knuckles pointing at the sky. We're gonna try to come up to the bottom of the lunge. Yep, so now we're in the bottom of the lunge. Your arms a little forward. This is another fault that'll be really common. You wanna really push there and then relax your neck. Oh, yeah. You could look at it, sorry. Looking at it does have the truth better. Yeah, that is something I've always done. But we do want to make sure it's not super forward. So, good. So, bottom of lunge. Yeah, I forgot about that. So, always look at your hand. Okay? And from the bottom of the lunge, what's the next step?
Stand up.
You're gonna stand up. Yeah, the heavier it is, the more you're gonna have to what before you stand up. What are we gonna talk about next?
Push to the ground.
And before you push to the ground. Huh?
Keep the arm not coming forward.
You're gonna have to brace. The heavier it is, the more you're gonna have to brace, because that lunge is not gonna be an easy lunge, the heavier it is. So you're gonna take a breath in, brace, and stand. Yep, see? Yeah, ideally you're standing forward, not
That sideways.
Yeah. Okay, so now we're up here, and we're actually, so number 7 is stand, right? Brace. Now, here's the funny part, is we're not done, right? So,
It's just point like half of it, right?
this is half of it. And so go ahead and stay up there, and then, so now you're just gonna do everything we have here, we could list back out again. So number 8 is gonna be reverse lunge. Now, number 9 is gonna be reach your hand back without looking. Yep. Reach back, don't look. 10 is gonna be glute bridge. Leg through. Actually, leg through, then glute bridge. And then butt on ground. And roll to elbow. Remember that leg should be straight. Yep. And then lie down. Butt ground. 13, elbow. Down. 14, lie down. 14 steps. Can we reduce that even more? Not really.
Yeah.
Not really, not for going step by step, right? That's how complex this movement is, hence why we're doing it this morning. So, what I want you to do next is I want you guys to coach each other once through this movement. And I want you to make each other hold positions if they're not correct and correct them. We'll let you copy this. You can also just take a picture too. Although my writing is messed up, so if you don't know what it means, just ask me. I start off good and then I end up scribbling to finish fast.
What's awesome? Butt hand. Butt hand. Sorry.
Butt butt ground.
Background.
Yeah. Okay. So, who wants to coach who first?
You're on the ground first, Jose. I'll go with Danny.
Go ahead and stand. And never sit when we coach. Ever. That's another rule.
Alright, Steven, you're gonna close your fist. There you go, perfect. That's at your 45-degree angle. Shoulders on the floor. Go ahead and roll to your elbow. Keep on looking up. Next, go ahead and roll to your hand. Go ahead and do a glute bridge. Pop the hip. There you go. Go ahead and bring your leg through. More on the lunge. Go ahead and stand up. Now we're gonna go ahead and do that backwards. So we're gonna go to that reverse lunge. We're gonna bring your leg through to the glute bridge. Go ahead and butt to the floor. Go ahead and roll to your elbow. And to the floor now. Back to the starting position. Perfect. I think he did pretty good. The only thing that I noticed when he was in that glute position, his hip was bent a little bit. So
Did you tell him to extend more?
yeah, that's pretty much what I
My hips are a little low.
Yeah.
Can you coach him one more time through that position?
Yeah, absolutely. Alright, so then we're gonna go ahead and roll to your elbow.
Elbow.
Go ahead and roll to your hand. Go ahead and get to that glute position. Go ahead and pop that hip up. Awesome. We're gonna go ahead and bring your leg through. We'll go ahead and stand up. Perfect. We're gonna go ahead and go back to that reverse lunge. Bring your leg through again.
Hang on, pause. What did you do on that reverse lunge?
Oh, I didn't pat my hips. I missed that step.
No, that's fine. But how did he reverse lunge to the floor? What did you see?
Let's go ahead and.
No, it's okay. Just did you notice anything about it?
No, I didn't
He
notice.
slammed his knee into the ground.
Yeah,
Really
I brushed
control it. So I would and that's okay because your eye might not be developed yet. You just saw him go down. You might not notice that, but you
Right.
want to look for that. Like my eye was like, whoa, yo, Steven, don't do that again because you're gonna hurt yourself. Right? Like,
Alright, go ahead and go back to that reverse lunge, Steven. There you go. Go ahead and bring your leg through. Go ahead and pop the hips up. Perfect. Go ahead and roll to your elbow. And go ahead and back to that starting position again on the floor. That was pretty good.
cool. Okay. Now, Steven, you do Jose. Good job. Jose.
Totally did that on purpose. Okay, to make sure you're paying attention. Totally. All right, Jose said about to do a Turkish get up. One thing I always like to emphasize: watch that weight. Keep an eye on the weight. So, what we're gonna do? We're gonna start off. We're going to get that your left shoulder. Make sure that's right on the ground. You should be able to feel that left shoulder on the ground. All right, good job. Next, we're going to roll to our elbow, utilizing our core. Very nice. Good job keeping an eye on that weight. Next, we're going to push up to the hand. Very good. Now I want you to form a high glute bridge, high hips, a little bit higher if you can. If I was a car, I should be able to drive through that bridge. Excellent job. Next, we're gonna pull that leg through. So, very good. Now, we're going to, at the bottom of the lunge, we're going to stand up, following that weight, nice. Next, you got the weight, that's the first part. Then we're gonna perform a reverse lunge. So we're with our opposite.
What do you see in his arm position? Where's his arm relative to his
So make sure we get that arm back a little bit there. Just like when we're doing an overhead press, we don't want it coming forward, going back on our head.
I think when you say get that arm back there, that's fine. But what's a more specific cue, actionable cue for him to do? What can you tell him to do?
Arm behind the ears.
Okay, like this?
Or straight arm behind the ears.
Yeah, I would even say push up and back, right? So you're telling him what to do with his body,
Okay.
just so he's active, right? That's fine. You could do your arms back, and if it works, it works. But I really want to make sure, because sometimes it looks like it's there, but it doesn't feel like it. I want to make sure he feels it, so I'm gonna have him push, right?
Okay. All right. So get that arm back. We're gonna push to the sky still. Good job. Good job with that lunge. Next, we're going to kick that foot forward. Bring that opposing foot forward via the hip bridge.
His hand wasn't down yet.
Oops.
It's okay.
All right, so your hand to the ground. Next, we're gonna kick that leg out. Good job, maintain that bridge. Next, we're going to reverse down to the elbow. And we're gonna go back to our starting position. And there we go. I would say also just a thing to work on, the arm is still coming forward a little bit as you're going down.
All right.
Work on maintaining that arm and back. If you see, maybe use the bill of your cap as a guide. So if you see it coming by the bill of the cap, you know to move it back a little bit.
That's funny. It went in the opposite direction on the way down. You saw that, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you're lack shoulder stability, if you're tired, or if it's just not having, because you've done a lot of it now, or if it's not having weight in your hand.
I think it might be a little bit of everything.
Yeah, that's okay. But good. How do you feel about that?
It was, I've never, with the Turkish Getup, I was trying to shoot, there's a lot of steps on it, and I don't think I've explained it step by step in class yet, but
That's
it was,
okay.
or not like all 12, but yeah, there's a lot of points that, just thinking back to old classes, coaching it, that I probably missed just because I didn't go through the whole progression of it, and just thinking about like some of the common faults that we see in class.
You could take that statement you just said, and I could think of just about every movement I've done that with, for sure. Because sometimes you just assume that, okay, let's do a kipping pull-up, right? And they're like, pull. Like half the people do it because they know what it is. So there's like a couple people that are like, is this right? And with the Turkish Getup, that's another thing to do. It's like, okay, so you guys are gonna lay down, you're gonna get up, you're gonna stand, right? So you do like 4 steps instead of the 14 that it's made of. So that's okay, but that's why you're here. This is the journey as we learn to do this, right? We get better and better, we hone our craft. Another thing, I don't know if you noticed, but how relatively fast it was for you to coach one person through it, because you're able to like, step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, like, yeah, good, a couple things to correct. And when you have a group, the challenge with that is, let's say we have even 5, but we could have up to 12 or 15, right? There's gonna be a little bit of lag time. So what you have to do is you have to get comfortable with like, okay, step 1, roll to your elbow. And then you have a couple people right there. All right, we're gonna hang out here until everyone gets there. Just stay on your elbow. Yeah, go back down your elbow, right? You have to be comfortable telling someone if they skip ahead. Because you don't want them skipping it, because now you have someone behind and someone ahead, right? So you're like, back on your elbow, who's a good person? I can't think of a name right now. Peter or me, back on your elbow, right? And then, all right, Shoshana, cool. Like, go to your hand, right? Like, and then that way you catch people up, so then you're waiting for each person to do this step. It's also easier for you as a coach to correct, because then you could see, good, that looks funky, let's look funky, oh, do this, right? But if people are on different steps, you're like, okay, just give me 5 reps. It's so much harder to coach effectively, right? That's why you get to, when you're newer, it's harder to realize this, but you get to control the knobs of what people do to produce efficient coaching, right? Cool. All right. Good on Turkish Getup for today?
It's kind of a fast one where you can miss things if people are going by like really fast.
Yeah.
I kind of compare it to like the push jerk yesterday.
Yeah.
And then sometimes you'll see people when they're doing the jerk, they're going down like so fast on this part, they're not fully extending, they're getting under it.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you just kind of slow it down, you know, step
Yeah,
by step.
and you have the power to slow it down, but you have to take your power as a coach. Like that's the thing you have to realize, is like you have that power. But it took me a long time to realize it too, because you think like, oh, no one wants to wait for me, like no one wants me to slow it down, everyone just wants to get to the workout. But like, I mean, what we do different than anyone else in F45 and other CrossFit gyms is we coach. So we are gonna coach, we're gonna slow things down, and the people that like it will be here, and the people that don't so now we get to have like less than 10 minutes to do breathing and bracing. So I shouldn't have put these two together, but we're doing a lot of heavy lifting right now, especially this week coming up. So we could touch on it next week too if we don't finish whatever we finished today. So what your core is. So your core is not just your abs. You have both an inner core and an outer core. So to feel your inner core, first thing I want you to feel is your transverse abdominis. So imagine you're inside of your body. You have a set of muscles that are like a weightlifting belt that are underneath a weightlifting belt. And then on top of that is your skin, right? So your inner core represents this hand. This would be your outer core, and then this would be like your skin here, or whatever, right? So the inner core is your diaphragm, pelvic floor, transverse abdominis, which wraps around like this, multifidus, which is the muscles in between your vertebrae, right? And I think there might be one or two on this here. Yeah, that's gone. Those are up night sleeping. But there's probably a couple more. So you have the inner core. When you breathe in, it moves on its own, right? When you breathe in, the pelvic floor relaxes. When you exhale, it contracts, right? Tightens. And when you breathe in, the diaphragm pulls down. When you breathe out, it goes up, right? It pulls air down into your lungs. Also, the transverse abdominis you can feel by take a big breath in and then exhale and try to feel your core. As you exhale, try to feel like the middle of it. I don't know if you guys will feel it. But you can feel something kind of pulling. You guys feel anything? I feel like it's pulling up. Yeah?
Yeah.
So, there's a better way of coaching you through that, but my sleep deprivedness is not helping me with that right now. But you have an inner core, right? On top of your inner core, you have an outer core. Your outer core is composed of your obliques, which you can feel here, these big honka muscles. If you twist, if you bend one way, you can feel one side contracting, right? So if I bend this way, this side's contracting. You also do have your abdominals. You also have your back extensors, which I'm not going to name right now, but you have bigger muscles here. Your lats are part of your core. Also, your glutes are a part of your core. Your quads are a part of your core. Your adductors are part of your core. Most people don't realize that. They just think of this as their core. All of that's your core. So, when I am talking about bracing, I am talking about turning on those muscles or stiffening. Easiest way I like to explain it to people is go ahead and flex your arm. Go ahead and flex your core. Same thing, right? Hey! No. You troublemaker. Hey, you're not allowed to be a jerk. You will go in the office. Okay. So, there's a lot of concepts here. First concept is 360 breathing. So 360 breathing, if you guys put your hands under your rib cage, you're going to try to breathe into your hands and push them outward. See if you can, see if you do or you don't. It's probably easier lying down than it is sitting, to be honest. I'm breathing into my chest right now. Do you feel your ribs expand? Yeah. So ideally, your ribs expand, your stomach, your chest, everything expands. That's 360 breathing. So most people either chest breathe, belly breathe, they don't do 360 breaths. So that's something I actually like people to practice lying down on their back if they're not fully doing it. If they're feeling back pain, that's often a good place to start, just making sure they can breathe properly. And then it usually gets pretty good, pretty fast.
So do you normally just have them do laying down to see if they can
Yeah,
feel better?
let's try laying down. Yeah. That's the way to do it. So the hands underneath the rib cage. Like put it on your ribs and then just off of it. And then go ahead and try to breathe into your hands. Try to take a deep breath into your hands. feel it?
Just lying around.
Yeah.
When we're walking, yeah.
There you go. That's it. Same 360 breathing. Okay. Cool. So that's another concept. And now third concept. I know all this in 10 minutes because I put a Turkish getup and breathing and bracing together on the same day to teach. So third concept is the concept of the canister. So the canister is your rib cage being the top of the canister. Oh, let me draw the canister for you. So that's the canister. You can also think of a soda can if it helps. But the top of it is your rib cage. The bottom of it is your pelvis. And or your pelvis actually. So you think of the bones, you think of the diaphragm, if you want muscles and pelvis. But with this, go ahead and stand. So when I breathe and embrace, I want to try to keep this no matter what I'm doing. So if I'm squatting, go ahead and try to squat and keep your hands there. I don't want my hands to get closer together or further apart. I want to be able to squat with everything in the same position. You can hinge, that's fine. What we don't want is this, right? When it comes to bracing for a heavy lift, if I take a big breath in and I'm like this, where's that pressure direction? Front, right? And there's connective tissue there. It's especially not great for the lift, it's especially not great for postpartum movement. But it's not just women, it also applies to men. Steven, you got a surgery in that area, so you've had trauma in that area. Right? And then there's also, there's a lot of lifters in general, and male lifters too. And also because they always do that for everything, they really wear out that area. So you want to be able to think of breathing and bracing as dials. The way they work, that's another concept.
When you brace up, does it affect like the bowels as well? I feel like sometimes when I'm
Balance?
bowel issues, I feel like sometimes when I'm like going like we're like bracing big time, it's like squeezing so hard that it affects the outward part as well. I don't know if there's a correlation.
It could, yeah, absolutely. That might be something worth checking out with the pelvic floor person just to make sure too. Because that can affect it for sure. So 2 dials, 1 to 10, 1 to 10. This is low volume, this is high volume. 1 is breathing, 1 is bracing. When I'm doing cardio, breathing's at 10, bracing's at 1. Right? Let's say I'm doing 60 minutes on the bike. I'm not thinking about being super tight. I am thinking about breathing. When it comes to a 1 rep max, back squat, deadlift, you name it, whatever it is, I'm gonna turn down this breathing. I'm gonna turn up this bracing, right? I don't need to breathe because I don't need oxygen for energy for 1 lift, for 1 rep, or for 3 reps. I do need to be maximally tight so the weight is cushion, right? So I'm gonna, right? I didn't breathe during the breath. So that's where we create intra-abdominal pressure within the canister. We charge up, we pressurize the canister. Full can of soda. Full can of soda is stronger than empty can of soda, right? Right? So, now the key is long-term to understand when to use that. So you want to use that 10, again, for max lifts. And then you want everything else on a grade so that like when you're doing air squats, you're not like bracing every air squat, right? You need to do it done. Right? And I don't know that you could actually make it more aerobic and more oxygen producing, but that's the great mystery in CrossFit that no one really understands it yet. Why do elite CrossFit athletes, why are they able to express movements that are non-traditionally cardio? Why are they able to recover so fast? Because obviously it is cardio. Right? So that's a longer conversation. I'm gonna stop this now because we have 1 minute. I'm sorry that took it so long. But yeah, thank you guys for coming.